Legion Thoughts, Season 3, Episode 2. This episode is called Chapter 21. Another episode I love, like all the previous ones, and really most live action adaptations of Marvel stuff. Spoilers for this episode and the ones before it. The episode is rated TVMA, so will this video be? Let's dive right in. So I really appreciate that this episode, after the first episode of this season introduced that, there will be time travel and how effective it can be, manages to save David twice, I guess, depending on how you count it. Then this episode establishes, the power level is not quite high enough. So, yeah, they're going to have to deal with that. It's a little too early in the season for David to immediately, for him to accomplish what he's setting out to do. And yeah, I thought it was a good scene with let me just start with Lenny kicking out everyone except Switch, and then trying to assert her dominance, saying, I'm still his favorite, kind of thing. Jealousy is a little bit of a theme in this episode. She's jealous of Switch. David amazingly actually asks Sid if she's jealous. I will get to that. Let's see, and David is just completely comfortable using his power to just, he just wants to get rid of Lenny, so he just plants a thought in her head, despite how unethical that is. And good conversation between David and Switch, and the thing of him trying to go into the hallway, using his power to try to manipulate it, and she even reaches out her hand, tries to pull him into, and it just won't work. And like so many other powerful men, few things frustrate David more than the limits of his power. And let's see, I think that pretty much brings us to, and the very clever this thing, I know a guy, and I think this is slightly out of order, but let me just briefly cover him talking to Sid, at the remains of the house, which I quite appreciate. A house disappearing, that doesn't make a lot of sense. I guess he hasn't done enough drugs to realize what show he's on, I guess. But David appears to Sid. Hi, it's me. I'm not the villain, but it's me. And I really appreciate she and the show are not letting him off the hook for the rape. She's still not using the word rape, but I think that might be an age rating thing. I don't know if they would be allowed to use that on TVMA. I'm not entirely sure. But she's not, she's not pretending like that's not what it is. She's using other words, but she is describing rape. And, she points out, even if you travel back in time, you will still be the man who raped. I really, it's so important to hold people accountable. I'm a big believer in redemption, in that, there are a lot of mistakes that you can fix. I'm not the right person to say, but I think it makes sense for rape to not be one of those things, for it to cross a line that you cannot come back from. And that seems to be what Sid is intimating here. And really appreciate it. I genuinely have no clue how this season, and thus the show, is going to end. If he is somehow going to redeem himself, or if they actually do end up killing him. And just, yeah, I love, like, there's so many pieces of media, and I'm not saying all of them are bad, especially not on account of that, but there's so many where, like, you know long before the ending how it's going to end. And yeah, I mean, I didn't even see his villain turn coming at all. And yeah, the excellent use of the quote, "Men are afraid women will laugh at them. Women are afraid men will kill them." And yeah, he's, oh, but that's awful. He still doesn't realize. No, but yeah, that's you. You've killed people. Sid is not the only person who knows him really well, who knows he's killed and fears he would again. And let's see, and his struggling to accept this leads the blue gas to become red, from peace and love to anger and aggression. And yeah, it is, very, very accurate to real life when someone is confronted with the bad they've done, depending on them, not absolutely everyone, but a lot of people, especially if the thing they've done is really bad and deep down they know it's really bad. Yeah, they get angry. It's a great visual metaphor there. And yeah, some great stuff with Squirrel, running around the right, yeah. I loved seeing a hippie piss off a fascist as the latter is trying to interrogate him. Is just incredibly funny. Just, yeah, he's sitting there singing to try to not be fooled into saying, something that, and, yeah. So this red button, and explains the whole thing. And the thing with, we're not actually sure at this altitude which will kill you first. Will you let me know? And yeah, doesn't take very long for him to press the button. And then he goes to carry with a C. Parachute. Parachute. What? Parachute. I love this show so much. I cannot get over the fact that their plan was almost foiled by Carrie with a C being kind of slow on the, like, he just barely gets it in time, apparently. He's like, oh, parachute deployed, it's kind of low. Oh, no, he made it. He's limping, but he's alive. Like, just kind of seems like the kind of thing you would be 100% ready for in that, but just, yeah. And the display he's using to watch the descent and track him is like this video game thing, like a really one of the oldest video games. Like, it looks like something out of, like, yeah, like early arcade games, like, yeah, like Jumpman or something. Just wonderful. And suddenly they can see, like, they have a very clear picture of what Squirrel sees. So I don't know if there's supposed to be a camera in his eye, or like some kind of brain thing that's transmitting the images, or what exactly. I guess the latter, but then that doesn't seem to work once the tea party. So yeah, just I love how unabashedly weird the show is. And yeah, the tea party, just fantastic. Love the Alice in Wonderland references. I knew this was coming. I've, the image of Aubrey Plaza as, the Mad Hatter is one of the most frequently, like, whether it's like video clip, or that like autoplays on sites, or just a still image of it, but her with the smile and the whole thing, that's a very common image when you're looking at, like, reviews of this show. And I think I read all of them. I forget, all that were still up, I think, when I started doing research for the show. And yeah, just she nails it, which is not a surprise. Of course, Aubrey Plaza is gonna do an amazing job as the Mad Hatter. Yeah, if the Tim Burton duology gets another one, I vote that they put her in Johnny Depp's place. In general, I think Johnny Depp, after now that we know how badly he treated Amber Heard, I think it would be perfectly acceptable if his career just ended. Now, let's see. Yeah, and the thing with, no, I wanted the blue stuff, and she's like, no, it's like wine, red wine, just, yeah. And the editing during the tea party with, suddenly she's on the table, she's right in front of him, then she's back, and then she's gone, and just, oh, it's just fantastic. And also just, him getting his, come on into the car, don't mind the knives, and they're sitting there like, oh, it's hippie eating time, just, yeah. And then they, like, grab him and pull him into just so good. And let's see, I think this is a decent time to bring up, so yeah, another great scene between Sid and Farouk. And yeah, he plays O Tannenbaum, a song that I genuinely cannot hear anymore without thinking about that particular South Park episode. Yes, O Tannenbaum. And then as the camera pulls out, I love how it goes from piano and then we start hearing like more of an orchestra. And the camera pulls out, and we see all these individuals in the same area as him, and we get something that this show also excels at: fucking gender ambiguity. We also get a little more of that later when as so there's a lot when the Carries swap clothes and then reach into the mirror and get out, so I guess, I don't know, somebody read from the Necronomicon, I guess, and they start dancing, and she wants to lead, and I 100% get, like, we know that, okay, this is in Carrie with a C's head. Carrie with a K 100% would insist on leading, even if it's not technically her dance, so that was, and then after that, it's David in her place, so now we have two men dancing with each other. Just fantastic stuff. They didn't have to go there. They certainly didn't have to go so hard. So, yeah, love to see it. And let's see, yeah, and there at the end, he goes along with, he's apparently eager to make the machine, and he says David is going to save the world, and Lenny is also just like, no, what, like, and quickly gets rid of Switch as soon as Switch has explained what is necessary. And I wonder if he really believes David is going to, yeah, because like I think David did, yeah, because it was like a visual metaphor for him convincing him, let me lead, yeah. But also, like, yeah, he's a scientist, he's fascinated by when Switch is just explaining it, he seems genuinely like, oh, that's how time travel works, And, yeah, he thinks, save the world. Sid maintains, David's gonna destroy the world. And I really appreciate, because that is, like, whilst that is the kind of thing that ultimately there is an objective reality there, for a lot of people throughout history, whether or not someone was saving or destroying the world has been a matter of perspective. And it's also like, well, are we talking short-term or long-term? Because some things that save things in the short term do damage in the long term. So, yeah. And yeah, like, they did set this up. I think it was in the second season that they talked about, David's going to destroy the world if they don't find out how, and then stop, prevent him from it. And for a while, it looked like, oh, they're going to, like, find out what he does, and once he knows, he won't do it or something like that. Now it seems like they might actually have to kill. Like I don't know how many times Sid is gonna have to kill him this season before it takes. And yeah, the scene with Farouk and Sid, I really appreciate that it acknowledges the much to ignore truth that many times when a woman lies to a man, and including not limited to a partner or sometimes former partner, it started with a man. It was a man who got, not to take away agency from women, obviously, but yeah, a lot of the time it's circumstance that forces, the woman had to because of the actions or words of a man. Sometimes the partner, sometimes someone else, like in this case. And it is also worth noting, women don't lie to men anywhere near as often as a lot of misogynists seem to think. There's just a lot of misogynists just don't listen to women, and so then they act afterwards like, oh, you lied to me. No, just, she told you the truth. You weren't willing to accept the truth. But, bigotry, brain rot. Bigots will blame pretty much anything on the people they are bigoted towards and really show distinct reluctance to take any kind of personal accountability. I'm not saying women never do anything wrong, but nowhere near as much as misogynists insist. That might actually be about it. I feel like there's at least one more thing. Okay, so there's a couple of things. I really enjoyed the attack on the Tea Party with, Carrie with a K, like, can we go? Now can we go? And finally, we can go, and she leaps into action, just, and the discussion, the meaningless discussion over, oh, it's the drugs. It's just drugs. What? It's just drugs. It's not the drugs. Just, I love how petty some of these characters are. And it genuinely, like, great subversion of expectation. It genuinely looked like there was going to be a fight between Carrie with a K and the hippies. And I do also appreciate, I mean, technically it is true. Some hippies, like technically, well, let's see. No, I think yeah. You know what? I'm not 100% certain, so I'm not going to say for sure. But some hippies did engage in some violence, at least. And, which I'm not necessarily saying was 100%. Oh, I do believe violence should always be the last resort, but yeah, there are causes where a fight needs, let's see, I thought she was gonna fight them, and, great with one of them throwing the knife and her, like, ducking out of the way, and just, they could have Han Solo'd that, but no, it looked convincing, and they just drop the net, and she blows Raspberry, because, like, I didn't get to fight anyone, just, can I fight her? You can't kill her, we need her, but you can fight her, just, like, some great subtle eye acting from her. Not the first time that Amber Thunder has done a fantastic job on that, including on the show. But yeah, after she, she's like, where is Lenny? And, right before she realizes Carrie with a C is being taken. And that's such a great, because, like, it wasn't quite clear, like, do they really not realize, because they do sometimes underestimate division. They didn't think about, like, if not for the time traveler, David would have died. But no, they, as far as I can tell, Lenny wanted, or David wanted Carrie with a C. And yeah, I don't know if Lenny had, if it was Lenny's decision, David's decision, but yeah, they gave back Squirrel, and they let them take the hippie girls. And I think Squirrel is pretty useless. Like, it looked like the drugs hit pretty hard. Sorry. Drugs, not the drugs. And I'm not sure how much the hippie girls are gonna be able to say. I mean, I don't know. I guess they might know. I'm thinking there's some kind of contingency that I mean, if they move the house even one more time, I figure the hippie girls are not gonna have any idea, and now they're not gonna get picked up by, anyone working for David. And yeah, Carrie with a C trying to escape in a manner that I would like to dub Thief Games. The Garrett, yeah, meets. I want to say it's Scooby-Doo I'm thinking of. Yeah, I know it's a bit of a mouthful. Right behind, and every time she like turns, okay, turns. Let's go with that. He like leans to, and they just keep going with it. Like, I thought that he was gonna duck out the door basically immediately because he has the chance basically immediately, but he's gotta get his coat. And it just, like, I think he is behind her for maybe a minute or two, and if I think it's like an unbroken shot too, just like, I love how this show just commits. And he's like walking through, and he's like, oh, hippie's gonna see me, gonna hold up the coat to kind of, because then they won't know, they're just gonna be like, that's not a prisoner escaping, is it? No, it's a hippie in a suit holding up the At least at one point he does actually duck behind a wall to hide, but just, yeah. And yeah, it's like, you don't know where you're going, dude. This is a terribly, you need to wait if you're gonna do that kind. Did you learn nothing from Prison Break? You have to have a plan. You don't need to get it tattooed on your back, but like, he doesn't know the layout of this place. And yeah, he bumbles directly into where David, like, I don't know if David was already influencing him or what, but yeah, he goes exactly where David was hoping. Like, he might as well have just stayed put. He saved David a walk, essentially, or I guess himself a little wait, well, maybe more than a little, since Lenny is just, yeah. Right, that was also Sid pointing out in the episode before this one, this was not, David was not the first person who raped her. It's just, yeah, so messed up. I really appreciate the show facing these things head on. Yeah, I'm a big supporter of Carrie with a C making shit. So yeah, looking forward to more of him. It just, like, immediately he's like, ooh, you've got this and you've got all the toys, and the headphone thingies, and just, yeah. I just, the one thing is, Lenny or someone is maybe going to have to watch him just to make sure that he deploys the parachute on time this time.